welcome back to another episode of the fourth little quick take. I'm here with my co-host Nicholas Todd. Hey, everybody, how you doing today?
Doing good, bro.
Okay, so today's topic comes from another Native community problem. Connecticut towns can lose casino money if they don't change the name of Native American mascots. What are your thoughts about this?
It's fine about goddamn time. You just think that all these schools that have like really racist names about Native Americans is just throughout time it's been okay and allowed, and it's just like, why is it so? I used to always think like, there's actually a school in Connecticut. It's called the Redmans.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, you Washington Redskins or all these other things. It kind of goes back to that other pod that we did, but still, now high schools all over the United States have like, a chief or a warrior, with a bonnet on and everything. Mm-hmm. And kids going out acting like fools and everything, trying to represent Native Americans. It's like, oh, we're honoring your people. It's just like, shut up. We don't want to be honored by you. Honestly, man. What's your thoughts about it?
It's one of those topics we cover time and time again. But it's like I said, companies, schools, government won't make a change unless you affect the money somehow. And without casinos, we really didn't have that revenue or the income to have that impact. But now that we have these native businesses, we have casinos. And I think that's why that stereotypical Native Americans get casino money. They really dislike it because we're coming into their world now where we're able to affect their money and their schools and their funding. And they're so mad about it that they're clinging on to the last thing, which is their Native American mascots.
Yeah.
Is that what you see in this?
That's what I'm seeing too, is because like you affect the big man's pocket, he'll get pissed. And that's the only way you'll be able to get to people and all that stuff is if you take away their source of income and their source of livelihood, which is money. You take away a man's money and all that stuff, what does he have left? He don't have a business. He don't have anything else, And that's one thing is, with these, because how much was it saying? They were talking about like in the millions these casinos donate to people.
51 million.
Yeah, 51 million and to 169 schools in
Connecticut.
In Connecticut in 2021. Yeah. That's a lot of money. $51 million that you're being funded from a casino. It's like, dang, I want to go there. Hey.
We need to start our own casino. But yeah, it's great that we're finally able to fight back, because usually we just protest. We have social media now, and topics like these, our voices aren't heard. So with us being able to affect the money, we're able to have a bigger voice than what we normally would have. Just hence Wounded Knee, Dapple. It's all based on money. So if we're able to affect the money, we're able to create a bigger change for the betterment of the Native American future.
Yeah. And it looks like a related article, Nevada passes a law that bans racially discriminatory school mascots and sundown sirens.
And this all stems back to like one of our other pods where we talked about the name change from the Washington Redskins to the Washington football team, which is weird. Like, you go from one of the most racist names to one of the most generic names. Like, you couldn't think of like the Red Hawks or the Eagles, Red Eagles, or whatever you want to call it. They only want to keep Native Americans as their mascot, and they cling on to it. I just don't understand the clinginess to it.
I don't understand either. It's just like, I think because if you were to change your name or change anything, you would have to change a lot of your merch and all that stuff that you have already printed out.
It's the money.
Yeah, it would take a lot of money to be able to change everything that you already put out. And it's just
it sucks. So they cling on to this name. They cling on to their brand or whatever, their jerseys, their merch. And we cling on to the land. We cling on to what's sacred to us. But we're looked at an opposite view. They say that like we're tree huggers or all these other Native American stereotypes. And it honestly gets me so frustrated that we're just trying to help the earth, preserve the earth, and yet we get this negative connotation about it.
And it's just like, we don't try to bother nobody, man. Yeah. Why do you got to come in here and take all like our sacred stuff and just plaster it on a school? It's like, dude, no, stop it. Like, if you're gonna do anything, you want to honor Native Americans, update your history books. Tell the true history of what actually happened. You really want to like help a Native American or help our tribes? Tell the true history about what the hell happened in the United States and how it was founded. You know, tell about the massacres. Tell about how you starved us. Tell us about how you spread smallpox and other diseases throughout our people and our lands. Educate the human population, because then the human population will be able to understand what we go through. That's one thing that people don't understand right now is we don't, none of that is being taught inside of school histories, and that everybody thinks that, oh yeah, all that stuff happened 100 years ago. Like, dude, no, it didn't. It's still happening to this day. So
to this day. Who?
Who?
So yeah, there was a question asked to Andrew Cuomo, and he said, when was the last time the military was weaponized to use against the U.S. population? And they said like 1807 or whatever. He's like, no, Wounded Knee. DAPL. As soon as DAPL and Wounded Knee was the last time that the military was weaponized against its own people. And that's all lost in the history books. Just look at all these, the Trail of Tears, like all these horrific, the residential schools, and everything is just looked past upon. Like the 215 kids, I feel like it's already over in the media. No one's covering it anymore.
It's at 500 now.
500 now? Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Like it's just overlooked, and it's not, they're not covering it anymore. Mm-hmm. They're just trying to hide it once again.
Yeah, and it's just going back to like that Wounded Knee occupation in 1973. They had jets out, they had tanks, they had like all these Humvees from that they were using in the Vietnam War and everything like that.
Yeah. Against
Native Americans who wanted to have their voices heard. And that's one thing I always see is like people like, oh, why don't you protest, or why don't you just, you know, do it peacefully?
Yeah.
Dude, we tried for like decades. You try doing peacefully, so oh yeah, they'll get tired, they'll just walk away. There's a breaking point to where you can protest and do whatever you want peacefully, but when your voices aren't heard, people are going to rebel. People are going to revolt to where, into extreme measures to where their voices are heard. Now, that's the whole thing with like this mascot thing is like, I'm sure a lot of people protest about it, man. I'm sure there's been like a lot of petitions and everything like that, but they don't care. Mm-hmm. You know, these Billigana people with their money and their mascots don't care. Because it's just too much work to be able to change everything. You got to do all, like how he said, it's a lot of money to be able to change a logo and everything like that. And so now you take away their funding, you threaten taking away their money. That's when they'll listen. Yeah. That's when they're gonna want to stop and everything like that.
We talk about it, and a lot of people like to just try to disprove the fact that racism still is alive, and that we're better off today than we were 100 years ago. But there's still a lot of racism, even though it's like slightly better in my opinion. It's still racist. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, I know some people are pointing out, was if Logan Paul wasn't white, he wouldn't have gotten his fight against Floyd Mayweather. How do you feel about that, if he wasn't white?
Probably. Like, I understand that, like, you know, you get where you're at because a lot of people get more ahead because of the color of their skin and your gender. Yeah. If you're a white female person who's trying to get into the social media and everything like that, you're gonna have better chances of being more successful than, say, you know, a brown guy who's trying to do the exact same thing. You know, you're just not gonna get the same attention. And that's one thing that you were talking about, you know, is just like, unfortunately, there are a lot of pervs and creepy guys out there that'll go for the girls and everything like that, and that'll be a lot of their followers. Now, when you think about those lines, you know, you gotta, it's all about, like, it sucks, but, like, race is a big thing when you want to be big. You know, there are trends, and you can tell in today's day and age, you know, if you're a colored minority, you know, that is a trend right now. Movies, documentaries, everything is kind of on a trend for minorities, which is great. Mm-hmm. You know, it's cool that a lot of people are getting their shine, because back in the 1900s and even early 2000s, that, like, you, if you wanted to be a famous person, you would have to be more so on the white side. But now it seems like that's starting to change, you know, and I've talked to many people about it, how, you know, if you're white now, it's getting harder and harder for you to do social media, movies, music, or anything like that, because you guys aren't a trend anymore. Yeah. That's not the thing that's selling anymore. So it's definitely a big thing with all of that. So yeah.
So how do you feel about white natives wearing native jewelry? Because we're wearing Native American jewelry right now. I'm wearing an arrowhead. You have your Unearthing the Supernatural, which is pretty awesome. But how do you feel about them being sponsored by like these rodeo companies or these Southwest Aztec companies who do practically copy our jewelry, and they're promoting it on like Instagram and stuff, but they aren't Native American? Does that get you mad? Does that...
So like say like some Bilagana people be making our traditional jewelry and selling it?
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Or how about they buy it wholesale from the Native American communities, and they promote it and sell it at a significantly higher price?
Okay, so that right there, it depends.
Yeah.
Because if that person is using that money and giving it back to the artist or the community, I support it wholeheartedly, and they're giving the credits due, or credit where credit is due. Mm-hmm. I saw that online where some lady was posting native jewelry, a Bilagana lady.
Yeah.
But she was tagging in the original artist who made the jewelry, and she was a Navajo lady, and I was like, I get it, you're giving credit, but like, I don't know, man. That's where I think us Navajo people had to step up our game and where we sell jewelry and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Because like, if you use the internet, if you try going out there, and if you make your own authentic stuff, that right there, it will give you a more bigger audience, because it's like, okay, well, why would I buy that same jewelry from a white lady when the artist herself is selling the jewelry herself on her own website?
Yeah.
I think us native people, as far as for our merchandise, need to step up our game and get up with this new technology to where we aren't mistreated, we aren't taken advantage of like how we are now, so we wouldn't be in that situation, you know.
I think a lot of it just comes from resources, because a lot of the jewelers I know, the silversmiths that I know, they all go to the pawn shops, or they go to the other stores that sell jewelry, and they sell it to them. But now with social media, we can take that into our own hands. Just like the casinos, we can take it into our own hands. But we talk about how the lack of internet connection, the lack of cell phone connection on the res makes it hard for us to do that. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was big. We did a podcast where we thought it was huge that the Navajo Reservation is investing in all these cell phone towers and internet connections, which will help Native American businesses. It's huge. You need internet to run a business in 2021. And we're still behind in the times, and we need to catch up where we're able to take matters into our own hands and create revenue without the other stores, the other pawn shops that prey upon us because we're low income and we have low resources.
Just take a bunch of pictures of your stuff, go on top of the hill, and post it whenever you get service. Just take a picture of all your jewelry all at one go, and then go post it all one by one up there.
Yeah.
But you know, that is a big thing. Is just like we're so far behind as far as for technology to where like
businesses do in a business sense.
Yeah, and it's just like it sucks because a lot of the native business owners that are really good, that are living in the cities, and they're using their talent for a different company that's not selling native jewelry. They're using their business talents and everything like that. Instead of for Native American stuff, they're using it for like say car salesmen or K Jewelers or Pandora or whatever. You know, they're using their talents and everything instead of for our own people. Yeah. You know, they're using it to advance some other companies that aren't local or anything like that.
Yeah, so just like how the casinos took in their own hand and stop giving out funding to the Connecticut schools, we can do that with our own flea markets and our own jewelry. We're able to have a higher impact if we affect the money. And you need to affect the money to have change. It sucks, but this is America. It is 2021. The government, the schools, the whole system won't listen to you until you affect the money. And I feel like we're finally getting to that point with our casinos.
Yeah. So all you big per cap Native Americans out there, you know, just slap them in the face with your money and be like, you can't have none of this unless you do what I say. So,
I'm still waiting for the Navajo Nation per cap. One stimulus check doesn't do it. It helped out a lot, but it doesn't cut it. We still need some reparations for all the years we didn't get per cap.
Jonathan out the nest. Keep it up, man. Keep it up, bro. We need that every month. Imagine if you had like 1,500 every month, dude.
That would be nice.
On
That
top
would be
of your
nice.
work paycheck. Oh. So yeah, all you Seminole tribes, Oklahoma, Connecticut tribes, and all you other people that have casinos that make bank, you know, Oklahoma I think did a really good job with that. They got a lot of their land back in Oklahoma because they were, you know, big financially and as far as for business side of things. So keep it up, everyone. Keep growing. Get our land back, 1 acre at a time.
So we'll end it right there. Thank you for watching. Click like to subscribe.